Your jaw will drop when you hear what Trump just did to the European Union. And frankly, it's about time someone called their bluff. The president just slapped a devastating 50% tariff on EU imports starting June 1st. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. You're about to discover exactly why this move will reshape global trade forever and send shockwaves through Brussels' ivory towers. And if you stick around through the video, what you'll soon find out is that this isn't just about trade wars. It's about something much bigger that threatens the very foundation of American sovereignty. All right, let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Look, if you like our videos and you haven't already, why don't you become a subscriber to the channel? Hit the notification bell, smack the like button, as it helps us get our message out to more people. And thank you. So here we are again, watching Donald Trump do what every previous president should have done decades ago, but didn't have the spine to pull off. And honestly, it's almost embarrassing how long it took for someone to finally say enough is enough to these European bureaucrats who've been treating America like their personal ATM. On Friday, President Trump dropped what can only be described as a diplomatic nuclear bomb on Truth Social. He didn't mince words, didn't wrap it in diplomatic niceties. He just laid out the facts with the brutal honesty that makes career politicians break out in cold sweats. He wrote, "The European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. Their powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies, and more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than $250 billion a year, a number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting on June 1, 2025. There is no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Thank you for attention to this matter." You gotta love them. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about what this really means, because you know that the fake news media is going to spin this as Trump is being reckless or he's damaging relationships with our allies. But here's what they won't tell you. The European Union has been playing a rigged game for over 3 decades with the United States, and they've gotten very comfortable assuming America would just roll over and take whatever deal they offered. They've built their entire economic strategy around exploiting American generosity while simultaneously lecturing us about everything from climate change to human rights. The hypocrisy is so thick, they could all be Democrats. And just like with China, the European Union depends on the American marketplace. China built their economic system around selling Americans all of their crap. And now it looks like the EU may get caught in a similar trap if they don't stop being a bunch of pompous fools. Now think about this for a second. We're talking about a trade deficit of more than $250 billion a year. That's not pocket change. That's not a rounding error. That's $250 billion per year flowing out of American pockets into European bank accounts every single year. And somehow we're supposed to smile and pretend that this is fair trade. But what makes this even more infuriating is how the EU has structured this whole scam. Now, President Trump laid it out perfectly when asked about the 50% tariff on EU goods. Give it a watch.
Take advantage of the United States, and they've done that. We have a big deficit with them. They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others, and we were restricted from restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. And I just said it's time that we play the game the way I know how to play the game. You know, they've taken advantage of other people representing this country, and they're not going to do that any longer. Yeah.
Mr. President, you are a deal maker, deal breaker. What are you hoping to achieve with a 50%? Tariffs on the
well, I think this is there is no tariff, because what they'll do is they'll send their companies into the U.S. and build their plant. You know, we have I guess over $12 trillion practically committed. You look at other presidents; they haven't had $1 trillion for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. We have numbers. Nobody's ever seen numbers like we have. And if they build their plant here, then they have no tariff at all.
Are you looking for a deal in 9 days? Will you be able to do that, sir?
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%. But again, there is no tariff if they build their plant here. Now, if somebody comes in and wants to build a plant here, I can talk to them about a little bit of a delay. But, while they're building their plant, which is something I think that would be appropriate, maybe.
And there it is, the smoking gun that nobody wants to talk about. The EU was literally designed to gang up on America economically. And already the fake news symbiote industry is making claims that the EU is not set up to trounce the United States. But if you ask anyone in charge in the EU, after a few large pints, you might not like the answers you get. 27 countries decided to form a mega bureaucracy specifically to challenge U.S. economic power, and we've been playing along like we never even noticed. You see, that's the problem with liberalism. Liberals and fellow establishment rhinos alike always felt liberal guilt about the United States being the world's big superpower. They never understood that we are the greatest country in the world because other countries do not do what we do. Any country could do as well as the United States, mostly. But the leadership in those countries decided long ago that they would do things their own way, which is not the American way. And so our liberals always felt that we had to cut them a break. We had to cut the foreigners a break, the guys that didn't do things like us a break, and that we should take it on the chin because, our liberal leadership, it wasn't their chin that was getting kicked year after year. It was the American working family and middle-class workers who were taking it on the chin for them. Well, no more. Trump's here. And here's where it gets really pathetic, guys. The European Union has over 450 million people. That's about 100 million more than the United States. They've got more people, more countries, more combined resources, and yet, and this is the part that should anger every single American taxpayer, their collective GDP is 50% less than ours. Now, why is that? Could it be that Europe went socialist light for a few decades? Let that sink in for a moment. They have more people. They gang up on us in trade negotiations. They lecture us constantly about how we should run our country. And their entire economic output is still half of what we produce. It's not just embarrassing. It's absolutely pathetic. But here's what's even more ridiculous about this situation. The EU suffers from what officials are calling collective action problem. 27 different countries are supposedly represented by one central body in Brussels, but many of those nations don't even know what's being negotiated in their name. Why do you think England got out? So not only are they arrogant and entitled, they're also completely dysfunctional. The collective action problem in the EU refers to the situation where individual member states, while benefiting from collective action within the EU, may choose to avoid contributing their share to the effort, hoping others will pick up the slack. This free riding, this behavior can hinder the EU's ability to achieve its goals, such as in areas like defense, climate change, or economic stability. Now, can you imagine trying to run a business where you had 27 different CEOs all trying to make decisions, but half of them don't even know what the other half are doing? It would be a disaster, and that's exactly what we're dealing with when we try to negotiate with the EU. Now, Trump gave them a chance. The fake news can't say that. He gave them a chance. Back in April, he rolled out what he called the Liberation Day tariffs. Remember that? But he included a 90-day reprieve for the EU. He basically said, look, here's your chance to get serious. Come to the table and work out a fair deal. Trump has never said he wanted us to gang up on anybody. He just wants a fair deal. Now, that was generous on his part, probably more generous than they deserved. But we're well past the halfway mark of that grace period. And what has the EU done? Absolutely nothing. They've made no real effort to fix the trade imbalance because they love the trade imbalance and they think that we're going to fall suckers for them. They haven't stopped their manipulative practices. They haven't limited their barriers against American products. They've just continued business as usual, assuming Trump was bluffing. Well, surprise, he's not bluffing. The 50% tariff that kicks in on June 1, that isn't just a punishment. It's a wake-up call. It's Trump saying, look, if you want access to the American market, the most lucrative market in the world, then you need to stop acting like a privileged cartel and start acting like responsible trading partners. And here's the brilliant part of this strategy, guys. Trump isn't trying to hurt European countries just for the sake of hurting them. He's offering them a simple choice. Manufacture your products in the United States and skip the tariffs entirely. It's actually a pretty generous offer when you think about it. This forces European companies to make a decision. Do they want to keep manufacturing in Europe and pay the 50% tariff, making their products significantly more expensive for American consumers? Or do they want to bring those jobs to America, employ American workers, and avoid the tariffs altogether? Money talks, and you know what walks. It's not complicated. It's America First policy at its finest. But there's something even deeper happening here that goes beyond just trade numbers and tariffs. This is about sovereignty, guys. This is about whether America is going to continue allowing foreign bureaucrats to dictate the terms of our economic relationships, or whether we're going to stand up and demand fair treatment. For too long, we've had politicians here who were more concerned with being liked at international cocktail parties than they were with protecting American interests. They'd rather get a pat on the head from European leaders than fight for American workers and American businesses, because they didn't care about the American workers or American businesses. Well, Trump is a different breed. He doesn't care if the Brussels bureaucrats like him. He doesn't care if he gets invited to their fancy dinners. He probably wouldn't go anyway. He cares about results, and he cares about putting America first. You have to love that. The establishment is going to lose their minds over this. They're going to call it isolationist and protectionist and all the other buzzwords that they use when someone actually stands up for American interests. But here's what they won't tell you. Every other major economic power in the world uses tariffs and trade barriers to protect their domestic industries. We're the only ones who have been playing this game with one hand tied behind our back. China uses massive tariffs and trade barriers. The EU uses them. Japan uses them. But somehow when America does it, suddenly end of the world. Give me a break. The truth is, this 50% tariff is exactly what American leadership should look like. It's decisive, it's fair, and it puts American interests first. The EU can either adapt to this new reality, or they can continue living their fantasy world where they get to take advantage of America without any consequences. That's not happening anymore. Either way, one thing is absolutely clear. Under President Trump, the days of America being the world's economic pushover, they're gone. They're over. Look, this isn't just about trade wars or diplomatic posturing. This is about restoring American economic sovereignty and ensuring that future generations of Americans don't inherit a country that's been systematically weakened by unfair trade deals. Trump's 50% EU tariff isn't the problem. It's the solution to decades of economic appeasement that has cost American workers billions of dollars and countless opportunities. When this policy forces European companies to bring manufacturing jobs back to America, when it levels the playing field for American businesses, and when it finally teaches the Brussels bureaucrats, I call them the Brussels bullies, that America won't be taken advantage of anymore, we'll look back on this moment as the day America truly started winning again. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.